Well, hello, LinkedIn. Let me start that over. Hello, LinkedIn, Twitch, X, Facebook, YouTube, and a few other places that I'm cross streaming to at the same time. Thanks to the magic of Restream. My name is Frank Lavinia. You can catch me at the following URLs. And yes, Impact Quantum. Usually, when I say this, I say, like, well, we're going to relaunch the Impact Quantum show. We swear we are. Well, if you're watching this, and actually, of course, if you're I don't know what I'm saying. I need coffee. That's what it is. So, if you're noticed of late, we actually did relaunch the Impact Quantum Show with a slightly different focus. Still relatively technical, but primarily focused. Actually, the last two episodes, well, the one that's coming out Friday will be somewhat technical, and the one that came out last week was technical in the sense we talked about encryption, what the consequences for encryption that quantum computing brings to the world, and what solutions that there are in place to continue to protect our electronic world with that in mind. Now, another interesting thing you may have noticed is the number of subscribers on Frank's World of AI on YouTube, franksworld.tv, has gone up dramatically. I'm actually went from 1,500 to just about 2,800 now. So thank you, everyone who's watching me on YouTube. And I've also discovered that apparently, if you post shorts, uh, short form video, that is a thing. And so I got myself access to a software package called Opus.pro, Opus.pro, and it's amazing in terms of what it can do with AI. It does facial recognition in terms of recognizing when there's a face detection is really what it is, and it puts the face there, it puts the face there, and it crops it from a 16 by 9 format, which you're watching me on now, to unless you're watching the opusified version, in which case it's not 16 by 9, it's 9 by 16. So here's a quick visual. Assistant. Here is 16 by 9. This is what 9 by 16 is. It's all the rage with the kids. And incidentally, my 10-year-old's YouTube channel is also blown up, which is amazing. And some of the stuff he posts is pretty funny. It's called, his channel is Dachshund GT, for Gorilla Tag. And it's basically, he records himself in Gorilla Tag, kind of like making jokes and doing all these crazy things. He's got a good sense of humor, that kid. And Yeah, so this stream is about GTC, which is NVIDIA's major conference. And the funny thing is, when you hear kids like throwing a tantrum in the distance, your first instinct is to, what in the world was that? Your first instinct is to like look around. It's like, oh, it's not mine. And it really doesn't matter. So with that in mind, my wife, I was supposed to be at GTC this week, either working the booth or attending sessions, and I was trying to get into a couple of the pre-cons they got going on. But my wife, as a federal employee, has had to return to office, and we moved during the pandemic. We moved from about 10, 15 minutes away from our office to about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on traffic, away from our office, for lower property taxes, more land, more house, all that good stuff, better schools. And we didn't have a baby at the time. We just had the older two kids who, as they approached their teenage years, when I travel, they would be latchkey kids for a couple of days at a time or a week at a time. With a baby, it's a little bit different. So, and I know I'm going to get comments like, "Oh, why didn't you plan that out better?" Well, we didn't, because, as you don't know, and he's been on me with live streams and stuff like that. We kind of do the coffee talk videos. You can look it up. Um, he is a cousin's baby that we ended up adopting, because we found out that he was in the foster care system, out of state, and so we ended up having a baby again. And people ask me, "Do you regret that?" And I say, not for 1 second, because in 50 years from now, his life is going to be completely changed. No one's going to remember, you, all the other things, the chaos, the daily chaos, and things like that. And I stand by our decision to. I stand by our decision to adopt him, right, and move, right, because we love the house. The schools are great. The kids are doing great in the school, and this is just a minor inconvenience. And yes, I know. Come here. So I do have a guest star today. Oh, there we go. This is hello. You know what? So this is the so many of you have heard me talk about Dingo, which is my franksworld.com data driven whatever content creation management system, pipeline system, agentic system. If I were looking to raise money, I call it agentic. Although it's not that far off from being agentic. There is some manual touch, but I could theoretically convert it to an agentic system with a modest amount of work. Um, and anyway, it's named after, I called it Dingo because, um, I don't know, this dog looks like a dingo. He's actually, we think, a Carolina dog. So we just call him the Dingo. And he's camera shy now. But where was I going with this? So speaking of agentic, I've been watching a lot of the stuff coming out of GTC. Obviously, not as closely as I like because little things like work and family obligations get in the way. I'm actually right now at a Panera. Beautiful weather here today in the Baltimore area, and I'm at a Panera Bread and just enjoying the scenery and the weather. And was hoping to get a coffee, but I figured, what, I'm gonna do a live stream, and still could get that coffee though. But on a couple of things. So one, I'm really digging some of the things that are coming out of there. Um, I'm fascinated that robotics, humanoid robotics especially, was such a major point of focus for Jensen's keynote. It was a good, by Jensen standards, it was a good keynote. Not nearly as radical or thought provoking, I think, as the CES one. Now, that having been said, I didn't watch the full thing through. I did have it beamed to my TV. If you see me in my office, I got plenty of monitors. Monitor real estate is not really an issue, but it was interesting to see that. He did mention the public cloud quite a bit, which I think is kind of odd because it's been my experience, anecdotally, that the public cloud has really lost a lot of its shine. And I think AI has a lot to do with that, namely for a number of reasons. One, you need data to train AI, right? Or you need data even to use generative AI, right? Like, so if you have very sensitive information, you have to post that somewhere. Right now, that's either Claude. I know. Hang on with me here. I can hear that. I can feel the disturbance in the force. So, um, it's either Claude, OpenAI, Gemini, Google, whatever they're calling it, Gemma, stuff like that. However, there's been a pretty robust revolution in on-prem uses of AI and serving out AI. If you're gonna cry, you gotta come on. He doesn't really bark. He just does the whining thing. Let's see. Hello. Do you have anything to say? Do you have anything to say at all, sir? So if you're just joining, I'm at it's kind of a sidewalk cafe type thing, not too far outside Baltimore, and I am having some serious FOMO because due to family obligations, have not been able to go to GTC this year. Actually, never been to GTC. I have a lot of colleagues there, so if you're there, stop by the Red Hot booth and tell everyone that Frank sent you, or better yet, tell them that the dog sent you. That'd be pretty fun. Um, and Yeah, I think it's an interesting conference. The GTC conference is historically not been a major kind of an event, but with Nvidia's prominence in the market, I think that accordingly has also gone up. People want to know what Nvidia is doing, um, and very clearly, even just in my own little world of Frank's world, um, I priced out how much it cost me to do a blog post using or just using generative AI, and it turns out it tends to be about 10 cents per blog post. Now that may sound like a lot, but I actually optimized it down from about 29 cents a blog post. And today in between doing this, I tried setting up, I actually have Fabric now running on my Olama server. And I'm getting some mixed results in terms of timing, right? So some of the models, for one reason or the other, don't seem to work. So I may have to reinstall and reimage the server. But one of the interesting things was some tasks took about 90 seconds. A couple of them took about um, 5 minutes to run. Now, if I were truly cost conscious, um, and let's say I do 100 blog posts per month on franksworld.com, which I do, and they'll say all of them are AI generated. Not all of them are currently, but majority are. Um, you're looking at about a $10 expense per month, right? Assuming 10 cents per blog, which is certainly more reasonable than $29 per month, I think. And a lot of that was me optimizing the prompt that I was sending up. Um, and yes, well, that's true. That does buy some really nice dog treats. That's true. $10 would be a box of dog treats. So I'm getting some. Here's a cost conscious consumer of AI right here. And if you're wondering what the max out sweatshirt thing means, it's from Ed Milet's podcast, which I highly recommend. It's really good, kind of self improvement type podcast. Really good for getting inspiration. But the long and short of it is that the server I'm running on now is my PowerEdge server, which cost me, I would say, all of $250 to buy, and $50 for the hard drive, and $10 for the brackets for the server for the hard drive. All in all, can't complain about its poor performance because it was never really meant to be an LLM server. And truth be told, I probably could optimize it even further because when I originally got it, I wasn't really that well proficient in Linux, to be honest with you, right? I'm still a Windows guy, right? So I actually have Linux servers running as VMs through hypervisor. So performance hit should be kind of minimal. But if I really want to eke everything out of it, I should probably repave it as a proper server from the ground up. Now I think I could do that. Now I feel kind of confident enough to pull that off. Um, there are definitely some other things I may not be confident about, but I could pull it off now. If I were to redo it again, or I were to buy another server, which I'm not, because I saw what my electric bill was, and good lord, it's going to be a while before I take on that commitment. So I actually have it now running a couple of different services, right? So I have a VPN server on it. I had a set up like a VM to do whisper transcription, right? Because a lot of these services, they start adding up, and as I create more content, I mean, it's not a trivial amount of money to spend. Now, I know I could, I do monetize a lot of that to kind of offset it, but you can't always count on an income stream coming in. So, and again, my numbers are small, but if you scale that up, I suspect that the same ratios will hold in terms of the true cost of running an LLM or Gen AI service on in the cloud versus on prem, right? Not at 10 cents. At 10 cents blog post, dropping $6,000 on a server, with two, that Network Chuck had built for his kind of AI service. Now he does a bunch of other things with it too. I mean, it would be 60,000 blog posts. Then you would quote unquote break even, right? That doesn't count other kind of costs, right? Repairs, maintenance, time, electricity, that sort of thing. So there's definitely there's a lot more nuance, but I think with a broad brush, if I can, if we're getting, so here's the thing, if I can live with a 2 to 4 minute, depending on the model I pick, response time for, generating content, then it's a fixed cost, right? For me to do that. All right, I already bought the server, right? But if speed is an issue, so what I might do is modify Dingo so there'll be yet another configuration parameter, either when you run it or whatever, is where you're hitting the server, right? So you're going to use OpenAI, you're going to use Claude, you're going to use Gemini, any of these things that you can adjust based on whatever the needs are. What I really need to do though is I really need to build out a GUI, a web UI for Dingo, because it's not practical to have it run strictly as a um, command line utility. I mean, it works, it does its job, but I'm thinking as I want this thing to evolve, I probably need to get it um, a little more mature and kind of out of the lab, right? Without the wire showing and things like that. I don't know. Let me know what your comments are in the post, comments and what stuff like that. I think it'll be interesting to see how that will evolve over time. Like, but I mean, I could totally do it on this machine here. Actually, this is an M3, and because of the shared memory that you get between the thing, the GPU can share the memory of the system overall. Assuming I don't have a bunch of Chrome tabs open, I can actually get pretty snappy response from this. I also have another machine that I could run. It's my old laptop. It's a circa 2018, 2019 model. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, but it does have a pretty nice GPU that I could run the servers on. It does kind of max out the processor, but if it's all I'm running is a server on it, it doesn't really matter. Right now, actually, it's a really nice machine. It's a Lenovo ThinkPad P51S. Beautiful machine, but there's some issues with the soldering on the motherboard and stuff like that. Maybe I did not do a video on how I repaired it last time, but when I say repair, it's really more there were redundant systems built into it, right? So the built-in power port doesn't work anymore. The soldering things, the points on that have broken loose, and it also turns out that the hard drive bay, the main hard drive bay, doesn't work either because it would randomly fail on me, and it wasn't the disk. And then I did some searching on the internet and find out that that model had some very significant quality problems. So the workaround is it has a USB-C port. I can charge it that way. And then the other workaround is that inside it actually has NVM IE, whatever that new format is, the tiny thing. So I actually have a tiny little hard drive in there that I replaced the main hard drive with. So it's not perfect, but but I've noticed now that the soldering points have failed to the point where if I hold the laptop a certain way or move it a certain way, the whole thing will either blue screen or fail. And I say blue screen or fail because actually it's a dual boot system on Windows and Mint. Because I am slowly but surely moving away from Windows over to Linux, because of the Windows 11 quality is just not where it should be, to be honest. And with the end of life for Windows 10 and the ridiculous hardware requirements for Windows 11, I got a lot of metal that I'd have to get rid of, and I got another 5-10 years of life out of those machines coming. So I'm basically going to move everything over to Linux. And Apple Silicon is great for running things like Office, running things like Photoshop, Adobe Audition, and things like that. I'm sad to be leaving Windows, but until these quality problems get fixed with Windows 11, or they extend the life on Windows 10, or Windows 12 will come out and fix a lot of these, as it tends to be that every other version of Windows tends to be, I think, of good quality. Other people I know will, especially if it's like move more into Linux, people will say that's not good quality. Um, but yeah, so I've been banging on for like 20 minutes, and the dingo is whining, and I just wanted to do a live stream. So we are going to have another episode of Impact Quantum that will be streaming live. In case you haven't noticed, they don't quite stream live. These are pre-recorded, and we broadcast them live, and then we rebroadcast them again. That's mostly to game the algorithms and stuff like that. Um, we've not gotten any complaints, but if you don't like that format, let me know. Drop me a comment wherever you're watching this, be it YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And with that, do you have any parting words, sir? Do you have any parting words? No? Nothing to say? Nah, he doesn't like to say anything without his lawyer present. So with that in mind, I'm going. I can totally dig it. With that in mind, I will encourage you to go check out all of these URLs: franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and impactquantum.com. And lots of good stuff happening in Frank's world, despite the chaos, or perhaps because of it. Maybe that's something I picked up about the anti-fragile stuff. I'm You've been watching Frank's World, and as you can tell, I love my motion graphics. Now I'm going to play the outro one.